Hey, where the heck is my dinner? If you're going to slack off on the house chores like how you are right now, I'll divorce you. And you can't even keep the curfew. You useless, good-for-nothing scumbag.
My husband, Lucas, shouts all these terrible things to me. But I'm happy and grateful that he brought the topic of divorce and thought it was a great opportunity for me. I took out the divorce papers from my bag and handed it to Lucas as I said this. Okay, I understand. Let's just get a divorce then. I will leave immediately. So just enjoy being on your own from now on, okay? My name is Emily. I am 34 years old and I work in a company. It has been a year since I got married to my husband, Lucas. But I completely regret marrying Lucas. The reason why for this is because I found out that my husband was the most bossy, arrogant, and strict person I have ever met. Lucas showed no signs at all of being like that while we were just going out, so how did everything end up being like this? I first met Lucas through a singles party that one of my friend Amy invited me to. Amy told me it was bad enough that I didn't even have a boyfriend at my age, so she practically forced me to go to the party. Well, I had been working all my life and hadn't been in love at all since I was a university student. While everyone around me was getting married and having kids, I had been single for a long time, and I was in no hurry about marriage. But Amy had questioned me if I'd live forever on my own, and since then, I began to think seriously about it and decided to attend the party. And that was when I met Lucas. He seemed to work for an IT company and seemed serious and kind. He was 3 years younger than me and he was in his 30s, so we got along pretty well. Lucas was very keen to have a conversation with me, and we exchanged contact information in the end. He then regularly invited me out on dates, and we had dinner dates together or went on drive dates. Then, Lucas confessed his feelings for me, and we started to go out. At that time, Lucas asked me to go out with him with marriage in mind, and I thought that he was very trustworthy. Then we continued on with our romantic relationship, and it went really well. When I was busy with work, Lucas was very understanding of the situation, and he would tell me that I could put my work first, which was very helpful. I am very happy that he understands my work situation. And in that way, his kindness was what attracted me more and more. Then, about 6 months after we started dating, Lucas proposed to me. I was really happy and thought that getting married to the person I love made me even more happier. No wonder everyone dreams about it. I spent the days leading up to the wedding in a very happy mood. After meeting both our families, I discussed about the wedding ceremony and decided how to proceed the wedding with him. At our actual wedding, I was very happy that so many people celebrated with us. And so began my newlywed life with Lucas. He is a kind and gentle husband, so I was sure we would enjoy each other and have a pleasant, happy life together. I was very happy at first. When I came home from work, my husband was there, and when I woke up in the morning, he was sleeping right beside me. Until now, we have been going back and forth between each other's places, but now that we were living together, we could be near each other all the time. I was really happy about that. But about 3 months into our marriage, my husband suddenly says something like this to me.
Emily, you always come home late, so what are you doing?
What? What do you mean? I'm working overtime, you know.
Don't lie to me. Isn't it strange that you're home so late every single day?
Well, but even if you say so, I'm the department manager, remember? I can't really go home early easily these days since we've been busy at the moment, and I got some things that need to be taken care of.
So, you're not putting me as a priority then?
That's not what I said, honey.
Well, you always come home late, Emily, so I have to wait for you with an empty stomach.
I'm sorry about that. But I'm thinking maybe you should do a little cooking too.
Excuse me? What are you talking about?
Huh?
It's a wife's job to do the house chores.
I was in shock when my husband suddenly said this to me. No way. In this day and age, it's not just women who must always do the house chores. I mean, since we both work, we should cooperate with each other, right? When I argued back, my husband's face turned red and he got super angry.
Wow, I really didn't think that you were that kind of person. That's enough. I'm going out to eat today.
In saying that, my husband ran out of the house. When we were dating, my husband had never said anything like this to me. I was upset because this was the first time he had behaved like this since we got married. I do remember that my husband did say that he was not really good at cooking. But I thought it was a little bit terrible of him to say that house chores was only a wife's job. And a few hours later, my husband came home. I didn't really know how to talk to him, but he apologized to me.
I'm sorry, Emily. I just lost my temper, you know. But what I said before was not what I meant at all, so please understand that, honey.
My husband took my hands as he apologized to me. Well, if he apologized this much, then I'll forgive him, because he seemed really sincere about it. Plus, we have only been married 3 months. There must be a lot we don't know about each other yet. I want to show everything and accept everything, even the parts I wouldn't like about Lucas, and move forward on how to solve the issues one by one as husband and wife. Alright, it's okay, honey. It's true that I too was all about work and put Lucas and doing the house chores as a second priority. Now that we are married, we do need to spend more time together as a couple after all. And that's how Lucas and I made up. I try my best to not do much overtime as much as possible and try to go home as early as possible. And when I came home, I tried my best to cook for my husband every day.
Wow, this fried chicken is so delicious.
Oh, really? Thanks. I made a lot, so please eat a lot, okay?
Yay!
Lucas would eat all the foods I cooked deliciously. Seeing him eat happily like that alone makes it worthwhile for me to cook the dishes for him. But gradually, my husband stopped doing the house chores that he was in charge of. Hey, Lucas, the dishes are not washed at all, so when are you planning to wash them?
Well, eventually I will.
What do you mean, eventually? They still haven't been washed when I got out of the bath a few hours ago, you know.
Shut up. I'm full and I don't want to move at the moment. There's this TV show that I want to watch, so let me at least relax on the couch.
But you said that the other day, and there were still dishes piled up in the sink.
Then, why don't you wash them?
Excuse me?
I said, if you're going to nag me so much about it, then you should do it.
No, but we discussed about who's going to do which house chores, and Lucas, you're supposed to do the dishes.
Then, from now on, you do the dishes. I won't wash the dishes anymore. And it's all your fault for making me angry.
What the? My husband said this as he turned to look at the TV. I had no choice but to wash the dirty dishes. After that, my husband stopped doing any kind of house chores. He used to be in charge of cleaning the room and taking out the garbage, but he stopped doing even that. But Lucas would say,
"The room is so dusty. You should clean it properly,"
to me. He wouldn't listen to me at all when I tried to talk back to him, and he would come up with some stupid theory saying,
"You're my wife, so you better pick up the skills to clean up the rooms really fast, but in a proper way."
And there is one more thing that I am dissatisfied with in this marriage. And that is that my husband doesn't provide any living expenses. At first, we each provided some money from our accounts, and we were using that budget as our living expenses. But after a few months of marriage, my husband stopped providing the money for some reason.
I'm sorry. I'm supposed to treat my colleagues to drinks this month. And it seems like I used a lot this month, so it's hard for me to provide you any living expenses for the moment.
As Lucas says that, he never tries to provide with any money, and recently he said,
I have to send money to my mom and dad.
But his father, Ron, works for a major company. And Ron has been working for the same company since he graduated from university, so his salary must be pretty high. So what does it mean that Lucas has to send money to his parents? I asked my husband about it, but he says,
Well, I don't really know either, but it seems like they're having some financial troubles.
I was a little bit bothered by that because I wanted to find out if it was a lie or the truth, even though I knew I shouldn't go into it too much. And no matter how much I am in the position of department manager, it's still difficult for me to bear all the living expenses. Also, what on earth does my husband spend his money on without providing any living expenses? As I began to worry about these things, I received a text message. It was from Amy, my friend who had invited me to the singles party. Hey, I'm at a sightseeing spot in another district with my boyfriend, but isn't this Lucas? I couldn't believe my eyes when I saw the photo, which was sent to me right after receiving Amy's message. The photo was of a woman whom I had never seen before, walking with Lucas, arm in arm. I couldn't believe it. My husband was having an affair. I immediately decided to request an investigation by a private investigator. While I was waiting for the results of the investigation, the company entered its busy season. My husband had told me before that I should come home without doing any overtime, but clearly I can't be the only one to leave early during the busy season. Besides, I didn't want to just obey my husband, who was most likely having an affair, and go home early for him. Therefore, I worked overtime as much as I can and came home. Then my husband was waiting for me with an angry look on his face.
Hey! Where the hell is my dinner? What time do you think it is?
It's a busy season right now. That's why I've been working overtime.
Huh? What the hell are you doing? Didn't I tell you before to come home early and prepare dinner instead of working overtime? If you're going to slack off on the house chores like how you are right now, I'll divorce you. And you can't even keep the curfew. You useless, good-for-nothing scumbag.
My husband, Lucas, shouts all these terrible things to me. He really is a selfish, arrogant man. He really is the worst. But I'm happy and grateful that he brought the topic of divorce and thought it was a great opportunity for me. I took out the divorce papers from my bag and handed it to Lucas as I said this. Okay, I understand. Let's just get a divorce then.
What?
My husband was surprised that I easily agreed to the divorce. And since I had even prepared the divorce papers, he was quite surprised.
What the hell? Why the hell do you have divorce papers ready already?
I'm just sick and tired, and I've had enough. You don't even provide any living expenses, and you don't do any house chores at all. And yet, you yell at me and try to control me. There's no point in staying married to someone like that. I'm going to leave immediately. So why don't you just do whatever you want by yourself? I don't care anymore.
I won't accept that. I will never divorce you.
My husband says so, but I didn't care and started packing my bags.
Hey! What the hell are you doing?
I told you that I'm leaving, right? I'm pretty busy at work this month, so I don't really have the time to pay any attention to you. Saying that, I left the house while I saw my husband being flustered. Then I went back to my parents' house for the time being. My parents were surprised that I had come home so suddenly, but they were outraged when they heard what I had to say. My husband had been calling me non-stop, but I ignored all of them. The next day, I just received a call from the private investigator saying that the results of the investigation were in, so I went to pick up the documents. As it turned out, my husband was having an affair after all. I was able to get photos as evidence, so now this would also help me to get a divorce from my husband because of his affair. I ignored my husband's calls and messages for a while, and when the busy season was over, I demanded a divorce from my husband through my lawyer. I called my in-laws, Ron and Jackie, to discuss the issue with my husband, and we had a family meeting at my parents' house.
How dare you demand me for a divorce? And what the hell do you think you're doing by even bringing a lawyer?
My husband blamed me like that, as if he was the victim. Oh, Emily, I heard that you suddenly left Lucas. I heard that my in-laws were told by my husband that I abandoned my house chores and left the house on my own. So, I had no choice but to explain everything to Lucas's parents. I told them that my husband has been a terrible man and has forced me to do all the house chores, and that he hasn't been providing any living expenses. And finally, I showed them the evidence which I put on the table. This is the main reason I want a divorce. I cannot stay married to someone who is cheating on me. With the evidence I had, Lucas's parents were turning pale.
Hey, Lucas, what the hell is the meaning of this?
What the hell are you doing? Both Ron and Jackie questioned my husband.
No, this is...
I then handed the divorce papers once again at my husband, who lost all his words on how to explain his situation. You can't make any more excuses, you know. We'll just get a divorce and you'll pay me alimony. As I said this, my husband began to cry.
I don't want a divorce. If you leave me, Emily, I won't have any money to spend on, and I won't be able to treat my lover.
Excuse me? I was stunned by my husband's unbelievable comment, but I asked him what I had on my mind. You do work for an IT company, right? If that's the case, then don't you earn pretty well? Then Lucas said something unbelievable.
I was fired from the company a few months after we got married. Since then, I've been working at a part-time job.
Huh? What the hell? What Lucas had said surprised everyone.
I'm sorry for hiding it from you, but I only earn $1,400 right now, and if you leave me, I won't be able to make ends meet. I can't even pay for the alimony. So please, let us start over. I'll properly reflect on what I did.
I was just speechless to say anything else.
That's enough, Lucas. I am so disappointed in you.
Ron yelled at Lucas. Oh, Emily, I am so sorry for everything that happened. I will definitely make Lucas pay the alimony. Jackie says so and gave me her word. So in the end, Ron and Jackie made Lucas fill out the divorce papers, then sincerely apologized once again. I was glad that both Ron and Jackie intervened to make the divorce procedure go smoothly. And my divorce from my husband was finalized at last. As for the alimony, Ron and Jackie paid it all at once on Lucas's behalf. And Lucas was taken to Ron's brother's farm in the countryside and told not to come back until he earns enough money to pay back for the alimony, so he is being forced to work until then. But all of this happened because of what Lucas said and did, so he deserved what he got. I, on the other hand, have been working hard again and have recently been offered a promotion. Well, I've been married once, and now I'm going to devote myself into my work and get good results, as it doesn't matter either way whether I get to have a partner or not. Lucas was being a strict, bossy, arrogant husband when he was just only earning $1,400, and on top of that, he was also having an affair. What a scumbag. Emily was right to break it off with such a guy like him. A woman who shines at work is wonderful, and I am sure that she will find a good partner in the future. I wish for Emily's happiness in the future. Thank you for watching until the end. Please subscribe to our channel. We hope to see you in our next video.
My husband loves his sister so much that he gifts our newly built house to her as a gift. As a result,
Is this person really thinking right? This person must be crazy. I can't believe my husband would say such a thing.
I actually thought of a good idea. Even though I only earn $1,000 per month, I actually already have something that's perfect.
Huh? What is it?
It's our house.
Come again?
So I'm saying it's our new house that we built recently.
Excuse me? What the heck is he saying? Is he okay? Wait a minute. Are you being serious?
Of course, I'm always serious. I'm sure that Kim would cry with joy and enjoy this as her present, for sure.
How could I even allow you to give away our newly built house to your sister?
Shut up. In any case, I'm giving our new house to my younger sister as a wedding present. It's a done deal. If you don't like it, then we'll get a divorce.
At this point, something completely snapped inside me. Fine, I understand. Let's get a divorce. I can't keep on doing this with you anymore. My name is Stephanie. I am 33 years old, and I work at a company. I have been married to my husband Sam, who is the same age as me, for 3 years now. Sam and I are both working as company employees and living a nice and happy life. But there was one issue, and that was Sam's younger sister, Kim. Kim is 4 years younger than my husband and I, but she and my husband are very close, to the point that it seems to be going a little too far. You could say that Sam really loves Kim and is very protective of her, to the point that it feels like he's obsessive about his sister. When we were first married, Kim would visit us as almost every day, even when we were newlyweds. And there were times when Sam and I were supposed to be on a date. But then Kim would join, and all three of us would go out together. If this situation continued any longer, I honestly think divorce is the only choice. I had thought about it like that before, but at the time, Kim got transferred to a new job in a different place, so she stopped coming to visit us frequently. My husband looked very sad and said,
Why don't we move to where Kim lives?
When his sister first moved away, but hearing this, I felt like I almost wanted to hit him. After that, Kim and my husband would only see each other at Thanksgivings and other gatherings at Sam's parents' house. So from then on, my husband started to care about me more, and our marriage was going well for a while. But our peaceful days would get ruined because of what would happen. It seems that Kim has come back here again. My husband was overjoyed and told me about it.
Yay, I can hang out with Kim more again. I really can't wait to be with Kim.
I was stunned, and even a little sickened by how Sam was being obsessive about Kim again, to the point of wondering if they were really siblings or not. And Kim didn't come back here just for a visit. She now has someone she is dating with the intention of getting married. She's currently living with that person, and she says that it is difficult for her to make time to hang out with Sam. Well, that's not surprising. My husband was depressed when he found out, but in the end he said,
Well, it's true. I have no right to interfere with Kim's love life.
I was surprised since I didn't know Sam could say such decent thing about Kim, but later, when I thought about it calmly, I felt angry because when we were just married, Sam would bring Kim over to our house so many times that Sam and I had no time for each other at all. I felt like Sam treated Kim way better than me. I even started to feel a little jealous. And knowing how I felt jealous, I felt a little disgusted with myself. Still, I was glad that things didn't go back to the way they were before, after Kim came back. We had been talking about buying a new house, which we had planned to do since the beginning of our marriage, and I was afraid and a little concerned that Kim would ruin our plans. My husband seemed to have given the idea of getting the new house some thought, and we finally bought the house we had always wanted. It will take a few months to finish the house, since we had some parts custom made. Currently, we are living in a rented apartment, and we can wait there until it is completed. I was happy to finally have the home of my dreams. But then something unbelievable happened. My husband suddenly quit his job. Why? We have a mortgage to pay.
No, it's not that I don't work at all, you know. I will work part-time during the weekends.
Why did you even do that, though?
Because if I only work during the weekdays, I won't be able to hang out freely with Kim, right?
Excuse me? Did he hit his head really hard somewhere? I just think he's crazy to quit his job at this time when we have a mortgage to pay. And it's just common sense to talk to me about these things first, right? Quitting work so he can hang out with his little sister is a bit too much. Apparently, my husband quit his job so that he can spend even more time with Kim. And Kim is not working at the moment, and her boyfriend is providing for the living expenses. She says that she will be a full-time housewife after she gets married, so she has decided that she doesn't need to work now. Well, I'm not so sure if I agree to that either, but more than anything else, my husband's behavior is just completely unbelievable. Why would he suddenly start doing something like that when we just got a newly built house? It seems that my husband does things which completely doesn't make sense when it comes to Kim. My husband seems to meet Kim frequently on weekdays and have fun with her. Plus, my husband loves to show off, so when he goes out to lunch with Kim, he would always treat her as her big brother. So, the money Sam earns on weekends is just gone in no time. Well, my husband earns only about $1,000, so it is only natural that it would run out if he spends money like that. Even though I suggested to my husband to get a full-time job again, he would not listen to me at all. I felt very uneasy and wondered if I would be able to live like this with him in the future. Then, my friend Janet told me an even more surprising truth. Janet told me that Sam had visited the car store where her husband worked. At that point, I was surprised. I wondered why Sam, who was poor, was trying to buy a car. When I asked Janet about the details, she told me that Sam was saying how his little sister was getting married soon and he wanted to buy her a car as a wedding gift. Then, Sam remembered that Janet's husband was a car dealer, and that's why he visited the store. Janet's husband was very worried because my husband was only looking at high-end cars. No matter how much it was a wedding gift for Sam's precious sister, giving her a luxury car is just too much. I mean, what kind of siblings love each other like that? Janet's husband was worried if I had given Sam the proper permission to do so, and told Janet to contact me to make sure that I had been told about it. So instead of letting Sam make a decision right away, Janet's husband said,
Let's think it over once and make a decision after.
I am so grateful to Janet's husband. I had no idea that my husband was doing that behind my back. When I came home from work that day, I immediately questioned my husband angrily. Hey, what is the meaning of this? You're trying to buy a car for Kim's wedding present, aren't you?
What? What the hell? How the hell did you find out about that?
Because you went all the way to the store where Janet's husband works, right?
Damn it. I went there because I thought I might be able to get a good deal since we're acquaintances, you know? Instead, he's a crappy dealer. He gave away a customer's personal information without permission.
What are you talking about? He's a brilliant guy. He checked with me because he got worried about it. And for the record, you're crazy to think that you could even afford a car with your small salary.
What are you talking about? My precious sister is getting married, you know. As her big brother, it's my duty to celebrate her with a huge present.
I mean, before saying that, you better do your duty as a husband first. You don't work during the week and you don't do any house chores at all. And I mean, what's wrong with you? Quitting your job like that just so that you can hang out with Kim? That's just unbelievable.
You're an only child. You wouldn't understand the bond between siblings.
Well, even so, you being this obsessive about Kim is just abnormal. I don't need siblings to understand that.
Huh? You're so rude. I just love and care for my sister. Why can't you understand that?
Oh no. Talking like this won't solve anything. Anyway, I'm definitely not allowing you to buy Kim a car for her wedding present. You need to be more realistic about things. I'll tell Janet's husband never to sell you any cars. My husband and I had a huge fight like this and spent the next few days not talking to each other. I really can't forgive him for this time. If my husband continues to be like this about Kim, I will really have to consider leaving him. So this time, I will definitely wait for my husband to reflect and apologize. I will never break down. However, contrary to my thoughts, my husband made some unbelievable comments. One day, my husband told me he needed to talk to me, so we sat across from each other on the living room sofa. There was a moment of silence. I guess Sam could tell that I was really angry with him because I had not spoken at all. Then, my husband began to apologize and said,
I'm sorry about the other day. I was out of line. I won't give Kim a car as her wedding present. I can't buy a new one now anyways.
I was glad that he was sorry for what he said. Thank you for understanding. My husband is not able to make calm decisions when it comes to Kim, but this time he seems to have gotten himself together. I just hope he will start working as a full-time employee again. The next moment, while I was relieved, my husband opened his mouth and started to talk, saying,
So, about the wedding gift to Kim.
Oh yeah, what are we gonna give her then? If it's a wedding gift, I think it should be something that they can use like dishes or like tablewares.
No, I'm not going to give her something that small. Actually, I've got an idea.
My husband grins as he said that.
Even though I only earn $1,000 per month, I actually already have something that's perfect.
Huh? What is it?
It's our house.
Come again?
So, I'm saying it's our new house that we built recently.
Excuse me?
We're giving Kim our new house. How about that? It's the biggest gift anyone could receive as a wedding present, right?
I was speechless and in shock that I almost fainted. What the hell is he saying? Oh, wait a minute. Are you being serious?
Of course. I'm always serious. I'm sure that Kim would cry with joy and enjoy this as her present for sure.
I don't even know what to say to you anymore. You really are stupid, huh? Of course, anyone would cry with happiness if they got a new house. How could I even allow you to give away our newly built house to your sister? I mean, what about the mortgage?
Well, we'll figure it out. I'll pay it anyways. And you and Kim's husband can take care of the amount that I won't be able to pay for.
You've got to be kidding me. I don't want to pay a mortgage for a house I won't live in.
You are so selfish. Why don't you want to take care of my family that much?
Well, I can't live up to your standards.
Shut up. In any case, I'm giving our new house to my younger sister as a wedding present. It's a done deal. If you don't like it, then we'll get a divorce.
At this point, something completely snapped inside me. So without a pause, I said this to my husband. Fine, I understand. Let's get a divorce. I can't keep on doing this with you anymore. With that, I immediately got out the divorce papers I had prepared. And I confronted them to my husband as I had already signed my part. My husband said,
I don't need to stay married to someone who can't take care of my sister,
and signed the divorce papers. I will never ever understand how this man thinks. I took the divorce papers, which we both had filled out, packed my bags, and decided to go home to my parents as fast as I could. On the way there, I filed the divorce papers at the city office and ended my marriage with my husband. I didn't expect our divorce to go that easy. It was a bit of a letdown, but I don't want to be pushed around by that man anymore. Fortunately, the house was purchased when my husband was still a full-time employee, so the mortgage on the house is also in his name. So I withdrew the money I had put in as my share of the property from our shared account and parted ways with my husband. After that, I was living peacefully by myself in an apartment. But about a month after the divorce, I suddenly received a phone call from my ex-husband.
Stephanie, it's all my fault. I'm sorry. Please, come back.
Huh? Why now? I mean, it's too late, you know.
I'm in a lot of trouble. I can't handle it on my own.
My ex-husband started blabbing on about what had happened since the divorce, even though I didn't ask him. Sam was going to give Kim our new house as a present and showed her the house. Kim was very happy. But when my ex-husband started talking about the mortgage, her mood immediately turned sour. It's not normal to give a house with a mortgage as a present, is it? There's no way that you can pay the mortgage for this amazing house all on your own when you're just working at a part-time job. I certainly won't allow my husband to pay for it. So, if that's what's going to happen, then we don't need a new house. So, it seems that Kim had refused to accept our newly built house. So, my ex-husband had no choice but to start living there by himself. But first of all, he could not pay the mortgage all on his own. But he couldn't really get a job at a company that paid him as much as he had been earning before. So he ended up working at a company with terrible working conditions with a really low income. And he had to work overtime and hardly spent any time at home, and most of his salary was used to pay off his mortgage. When he talked to a real estate agent about selling the house, the real estate agent said that they could only sell it at a price much lower than the purchased price, and even if Sam sold it, he would still be in debt for about $100,000. So Sam came up with the idea of getting back together with me and moving in together once again. You deserve what you got, you know. You're on your own. I said that and hung up the phone. I then blocked all incoming calls so that Sam couldn't get in touch with me at all. As for my ex-husband, according to our mutual friend, he apparently sold the house. He decided it was wiser to live in a cheap apartment and pay off his debts than to keep paying the mortgage. Well, I'll give him a credit for that decision. To be honest, it's almost hell either way, so in the end, Sam deserves what he got. On the other hand, I am living a nice, relaxed life and continuing to save money at a steady pace. I dream of continuing to live a steady life and someday buying my own dream home with my own money. It is so sickening that Sam prioritizes his sister over his wife. I mean, being obsessive about your own sister like that is too abnormal. And giving a house as a wedding gift to his sister is just too much. Normally, people would send something a little more casual. It's a good thing that Stephanie left this man. I hope she can meet a more wonderful man in the future. I hope Stephanie will lead a happy life. Thank you for watching until the end. Please subscribe to our channel. We hope to see you in our next video.
My husband is so bossy and strict that he looks down and treats me terribly. I had enough, and in the end...
Hey! How dare you leave the house without asking for my permission? I told you that you can't leave the house until I allow you to do so.
When I returned back home from the hospital, my husband, Drake, was waiting for me, looking all angry while he began to shout at me. Well, my dad collapsed, you know. Knowing that Dad fainted, there's no way I could stay at home only waiting for any news from the hospital about him.
Shut up! Your job is to obey everything I tell you to. If you're not satisfied with that, then you better leave this house right away.
Fine, I understand. Then whatever happens from now on, you better not complain anything to me, okay? My name is Monica. I am 27 years old and I am a full-time housewife. It has been 2 years now since I have been married to my husband, Drake. My husband and I met through work, and I was working as a receptionist for the company I used to work for. My husband was one of our clients, working as a sales representative, and he often came to the office where I was at for business meetings and discussions. So from there, we had seen each other, and when we happened to see each other at a bar, Drake recognized me, and from there, we had a drink together and became good friends. From then on, we would chat here and there, even at work, and since we had exchanged contact information, we started going on dates on our days off. And after a few more dates, Drake confessed his feelings for me and we decided to go out. We then proceeded to date and continue with our romantic relationship pretty well, and he proposed to me, and we ended up getting married. My husband was 3 years older than me, and he seemed like a dependable, mature man. I like older men, and I especially like men who are really open-minded, so I think I was attracted to him because he took the lead and he was thoughtful, as well as very open-minded about things. I was so happy that I was going to marry him. It was like a dream come true to be with the man I would love forever. Drake asked me to become a full-time housewife after we got married, so I quit my job and became a full-time housewife. From then on, I worked very hard to support my husband by doing everything around the house. I vacuumed the room every day, wiped the floor, and made it sparkling clean. And I even took the time to do the laundry, clean the bathtub, and scrub the toilet. I even cooked dinner, and I would change the menu every day for a whole month to provide a nutritious and hearty meal for my husband. I also woke up early every day to make nice lunches for Drake. My husband seemed really satisfied to see me working so hard doing the house chores. By working hard like this, I get to support my husband. Thinking that gives me strength and makes me want to work even harder at house chores again. For about a year after I got married, I worked really hard at the house chores like this and kept a nice relationship with my husband. And that was why it was difficult for me to realize who my husband really was. I think it must have been partly because I was trying so hard to do all the house chores perfectly as a full-time housewife at first. However, it was not until the second year of our marriage that things began to happen, which made me gradually become wary about my husband. It happened one day when I came down with a fever. I rarely catch a cold, but that time I caught a rare cold and had a really high fever. I rushed to the hospital and got some medicine, but the fever did not go down and I was feeling quite ill. So I sent a message to my husband saying, "I have a high fever and don't have the energy to cook dinner, so please go out to eat or prepare it yourself." After sending that message, I went straight to sleep for the rest of the night. And when I woke up a few hours later, it was already past 8 p.m. I left the bedroom wondering if my husband was back home, but the living room was still dark. I looked at my phone to check for messages just in case if Drake was still working, but it seems like he had read my message, but he didn't reply back. Does that mean he agreed and understood? I decided to assume that my husband was just too busy at work to respond and that he had agreed to what I had sent him. Then, having regained some strength, I decided to make myself a bowl of soup. Then I heard the front door open. Thinking that my husband had returned home, I headed for the front door. "Oh, welcome home. So you weren't working overtime, honey?" I spoke to him, but he seemed to be in a bad mood.
What the? You look fine.
Huh? My husband said that and went into the house without really greeting me that he was back home. I followed Drake into the living room, where he turned around and glared at me.
Hey, what are you cooking?
What?
You said you can't cook for me, but you're cooking for yourself?
Oh, no, I'm just cooking an easy soup for me, you know. I'm finally feeling a little better, so I thought I'd have something to eat at least. I did my best to explain, even though I was scared of the scary expression my husband had. But my husband did not forgive me.
Wow, you're looking down on me like that, aren't you?
What? What the? Why would I even look down on you? When I sent you the message, I had a fever of over 104 degrees Fahrenheit, and I was having a really hard time. It was really difficult to cook in this condition, so I sent you a message beforehand just in case.
You don't have to make any excuses here. It doesn't change the fact that you slacked off and trying not to cook for me. And if you have the energy to argue with me like that, you better start cooking for me now.
I was completely stunned. I never thought that my sweet husband would say such a thing. I was so upset and confused that I did as I was told and prepared Drake his dinner. I was really sick while I was cooking because I was still not in the best shape. I had just recovered my strength after a good rest and sleep, but now I was in the same situation as when I had the high fever in the morning. I managed to finish cooking the meal and put it in front of my husband. My husband had a stern look on his face as he quietly proceeded with his meal. I got up from the table to go lie down on the sofa while Drake ate. But then, my husband stopped me and said,
Hey, where are you going?
I thought I'd lie down on the couch for a bit. As I said this, my husband put down his fork and sighed.
You're not behaving like a good wife at all, are you? Was the first year we got married a miracle? Or are you saying that you gradually lost more focus and you're gradually slacking off around the house?
What? What are you talking about?
If you're a wife, you normally sit across from your husband and wait until he's finished eating.
Huh?
My God, you're really a terrible wife.
As you can see from our conversation up to this point, my husband is clearly an arrogant, bossy, strict, old-fashioned man. Lately, he has been really demanding and treats me terribly with his strict attitude. I have to wait for my husband no matter how late he comes home. When Drake works late, he sometimes comes home after 10 p.m. or 11 p.m., and I can't eat until that time, as I have to wait for him. It is very hard for me to have to wait until that time without being able to eat. But if I ate dinner first before Drake, he would get really angry with me. so I have to wait for him to come home while I practically starve. Every day I have to wait for him to come home while I got really hungry. Plus, my husband has become more strict with me than before.
Hey, didn't we eat the same pasta the day before yesterday? Aren't you being too easy on yourself, Monica? Not only should you change the menu every day, you better also change the type of dishes too. I don't want to eat Italian food every day.
It's normal for me to get overwhelmed when Drake makes such unreasonable demands like this. It's not like I'm his personal housekeeper. My husband's unreasonable demands made me worry a lot about our future too. But still, I have to do my best to take care of the house. I mean, I got to marry the man I love so much. I think I was still mentally unstable and immature at the time, or perhaps I was still narrow-minded. I was convinced that if I left my husband, I would become an unemployed, divorced, 26-year-old woman who would have no choice but to be just depressed my whole life because of our divorce. So I had no choice but to endure, even though I thought Drake was being really unreasonable. In the meantime, my husband would say all kinds of terrible things to me.
You really are a useless, good-for-nothing wife. If it weren't for me, you wouldn't have gotten married. I married you, so you should be better as a wife and as a person, Monica.
Why do I have to be told these terrible things by Drake? My husband's continuous verbal abuse was driving me crazy and making me go mental. And there was one thing my husband did that annoyed me immensely because of his strict, arrogant attitude. Drake made a permission system whenever I needed to go out somewhere. So with this stupid system that he made, I couldn't even go grocery shopping freely without his permission.
You waste my money as soon as I take my eyes off you.
My husband would say that to me. I am sure he was referring to the time I had a get-together with our neighbors. But it's not like we ate something expensive, and it's not like I go to the get-together frequently. But even so, my husband didn't like me going to these things. Drake remembers that time when we both bumped into our neighbor's wife when we were walking outside together, and she said, "I like the cafe with the cakes, which you introduced the other day, Monica. Thanks for telling me about it."
You're probably secretly going to some fancy hotel for a lunch with them or something, aren't you?
I insisted to Drake that I did no such thing, but he didn't believe me at all. So I had to ask permission from Drake and always ask if I was allowed to go out. From then on, I would ask for permissions to go out so as not to irritate my husband, but he rejected most of my permission requests. The only time he would give me permission was always for grocery shopping. The grocery shopping on the weekend was a blissful moment for me, but to my surprise, my husband accompanies me every time these days.
The more people, the better, right? I really am a sweet husband, aren't I? Hey, you agree, right?
Yeah. I always felt threatened around Drake. I began to think that I wanted to get out of this crappy situation as soon as possible. And that was when something happened. I suddenly received a phone call from my mother. What on earth could it be? I answered the phone right away since I got worried. Then my mother sounded very upset and said, "Your father." Apparently, my father had collapsed. I immediately got into a cab and headed for the hospital. When my mother and I arrived at the hospital room, my father was sleeping. According to the doctor, Dad had a stroke. If he had been left unattended for a while, his life might have been in danger. My mother and I both were scared and worried, but we were relieved to know that Dad was safe now. But I had forgotten one important thing. I had gone out without permission from my husband. No, but this was an emergency situation, and my husband would probably understand. Well, that's what I thought, but it seems that my husband was not that mature.
Hey! How dare you leave the house without asking for my permission? I told you that you can't leave the house until I allow you to do so.
When I returned back home from the hospital, my husband, Drake, was waiting for me, looking all angry while he began to shout at me. What Drake said was completely unreasonable, and I couldn't help but to go against it. Well, my dad fainted, you know. Knowing that Dad collapsed, there's no way I could stay at home only waiting for any news from the hospital about him. My husband flinched for a moment, but soon his face turned red and he argued back.
Shut up! Your job is to obey everything I tell you to.
Then my husband began to say something really shocking.
If you're not satisfied with that, then you better leave this house right away.
At this point, I heard something snap inside me. I couldn't stay married to this man any longer. Fine, I understand. Then whatever happens from now on, you better not complain anything to me, okay? I said this coldly and began to pack my bag.
You're a really stupid woman to go so far as to go against me and disobey me like this. You could be replaced at any time, at anywhere, you know.
My husband kept verbally abusing me like that until I left the apartment. I managed to ignore him and walked away and went to my parents' house. My mother was surprised that I came back home with such a big luggage, but after hearing what happened, she told me that I should have left Drake as soon as possible. I started living at my parents' house, thinking that I would end up divorced. Then, about a month after moving back to my parents' house, my husband began to call me non-stop.
Hey! When are you coming back here? If you don't, our apartment will be full of trash, and I won't be able to sleep well in here.
Well, why don't you just gather all the garbage and trash and throw them away yourself?
Well, actually, when I was throwing out the trash, the apartment landlord warned me. He told me to recheck the rules on taking out the garbage. I didn't know what day of the week I should trash the garbage, so I had no choice but to bring them back in. And then, before I knew it, there are garbages everywhere. Plus, the bathroom and toilet stinks really badly. Hey, please, can you hurry up and come back home, Monica?
That's impossible now.
Why is that?
Why do I have to throw away your trash or clean up the mess you've made?
Because you're my wife, so it's only normal to clean up after me, right?
That's what I'm talking about.
Excuse me?
You think it's only natural that the wife does all the house chores, don't you? And you think that the wife cannot disobey her husband, right? Well, I am fed up with how you think, as well as your strict, arrogant attitude. I can't live with you anymore because you don't seem to change your point of views, even in a situation like this right now.
What are you trying to say?
Let's just get a divorce.
What? Divorce? No way. Please think it over. I will never divorce you.
My husband really didn't expect me to say divorce, so he resisted like that many times. But I have an ace in my sleeve. Even if he refused like that, I can still get a divorce from you.
What do you mean?
I have been recording you harassing me and verbally abusing me for some time. And I consulted my lawyer with this evidence, and he told me that I could get a divorce because of what you have been doing and saying to me, Drake. So I'm going to ask for a divorce through my lawyer and demand compensation as well.
No way. Hold on a minute. Please, forgive me.
My husband pleaded me to take back what I said, but I did not forgive him, and simply told him to contact my lawyer for the rest and hang up the phone. I then managed to divorce Drake, and he had also paid me the compensation for emotional distress he caused me. I am now living at home and working at an office where my aunt introduced me to. My ex-husband, on the other hand, says that his workplace has found out that I left him because of his verbal abuse and harassment, and since word spread out, Drake probably feels really small working in that environment where everyone knew who he really was and how he treated people. Plus, Drake's apartment is still dirty, and because of that, he was recently evicted from the room. I am amazed at how Drake could be so strict and arrogant when he can't even take care of himself at all. Well, I don't really care because it is no longer any of my business. I experienced a lot of difficulties, but I decided to look at it positively, saying that this was one of my life experiences, and that now I'll be even more careful when choosing my partner. For now, I will work hard at the job that I have, and I will spend time with my parents to take care of them. What Drake was doing to Monica is completely a harassment, wasn't it? Drake really is the worst. I mean, normally, if you hear that your wife's parents collapsed, you would be worried for that person. And yet, Drake yelling at his wife is just unbelievable. What Monica did was right, to leave Drake. I hope that Monica will be able to meet a wonderful man this time. I wish her a happy life from now on. Thank you for watching until the end. Please subscribe to our channel. We hope to see you in our next video.
My husband looks down on me and doesn't take care of me at all, even after I had a huge accident. As a result,
Are you saying that I'm not earning enough here?
Why would you say that? I mean, I never said that. Because of my husband's rage, which he had towards me, he turned the glass of water he was holding to me and tried to throw the entire glass at me. But probably because he was unable to control how drunk he was, he slipped his hand, dropped the glass on his own feet, and cried in agony. That's funny. What goes around comes around. Look, this is how you do it. Saying that, I took the glass of water which was in front of me and splashed the water as hard as I could onto my husband's face as he looked up at me.
What the hell are you doing?
I was just setting an example of what you wanted to do to me. My name is Penny, and I work as a nurse in a hospital. I met my husband Howard at the hospital. It all started when he was admitted to the hospital where I work. He had a broken arm and was in the hospital for about 2 weeks, but other than his broken arm, he was very healthy. He was such a positive person to talk to.
Nursing is an amazing job, isn't it?
Thank you very much.
Do the doctors ever treat you unfairly?
It never happened to me. I am blessed with a good environment getting to work here. Like this, Howard and I began to talk casually like that, and on the day he was to be discharged from the hospital, he asked me for my contact information as he blushed. To be honest, being a nurse isn't easy because we're really busy. The only opportunity for a female nurse to meet any men is mainly at work. It didn't take long for me to become aware of Howard's aggressive approach towards me. We exchanged contact information, and we went on many dates on our occasional days off, which eventually led up to our marriage. Before we got married, my husband had often mentioned that he wanted to have kids, but I was rather reluctant to do so. I am reluctant to have kids or a baby because I love my job, and I don't think I would be able to work as hard as I used to if we had kids. It's not that I don't like kids or babies. It's just that I don't have the concept in which marriage means having kids. Of course, I had told Howard about that beforehand, but he always said,
I want to have a baby, but I won't force you to have a baby because I want to prioritize your feelings first, Penny.
I want to also live up to my husband's desires too. But I am that type who takes time to do anything. I'm not that smart and smooth compared to some people. I told my husband that I wanted to think about having kids or a baby more later on. He asked me how long it would take for me to think about having kids, and I told him that I at least wanted about 3 years to think about it. And now, 3 years into our marriage, the time has come. But I was unfortunately involved in a car accident, and I was badly injured, with a total recovery time of 6 months. The car tire crushed my face and broke my right eye bone and my jaw. At the time of the accident, All I remember is that I felt a tremendous pressure on my face, but the next thing I knew when I woke up, I was lying in a hospital bed.
Oh, I guess she regained consciousness.
I tried to talk to my dad, who was there, but I couldn't speak properly.
Your jaw is broken, so don't pressure yourself so much. The ethmoid bone is shattered, so they're going to take a look at it and fill it with artificial bone.
I nodded silently. Then I saw my husband rush into the hospital room.
Oh, Penny. I'm so glad. I'm really glad.
My husband had tears in his eyes.
I won't be able to live if anything happens to you, Penny.
I burst into tears as my husband said that to me. I couldn't speak, but I held my husband's hand tightly. In the end, after consulting with the hospital, it was decided that I would be placed on a 6-month leave of absence. But this was the beginning of how my husband's true nature was revealed. I was forced to stay in the hospital for 4 months, but I think I would have been happier if I stayed there. Because as soon as I got out of the hospital, my husband's attitude was completely different from what it had been before. I am on leave and I am not a housewife. Yet, my husband treats me like a full-time housewife. And with my injuries still not fully healed, Howard still pressured me to take care of the house chores.
I'm home. What were you doing today?
I went to rehab today.
And?
Huh? Well, I was resting at home.
Did you do any house chores?
I did do some normal chores like laundry and cooking dinner.
Then what's for dinner today?
It's pasta and salad.
What? Why?
What do you mean, why?
I wanted to eat steak.
I was a little speechless with what Howard had said. To begin with, just because I was discharged from the hospital did not mean that my injuries were completely healed. I mean, my jaw still hurts, and I still feel some pain behind my eyes. At first, I was going to go back to my parents' house to rest and recuperate on my father's advice. But it was Howard who has said,
I will take care of Penny. I will make sure that she will be fine.
Believing his words, I returned to the house where I live with my husband, but he has not cared for me in any way, and for the past week I have been trying my best to take care of the house chores.
You're a housewife, you know, so you should get it done. Make sure you cook what the head of the family likes.
You know, I'm not really completely healed, you know? My jaw still doesn't work properly, so it's really still difficult for me to talk. And what was that? What you said to my father? Didn't you tell him that you would be taking care of me? And yet for the past week, you've been treating me like your housekeeper, haven't you? And even in the midst of all this, I'm still doing my best to take care of things around the house, you know? You don't even seem to be grateful about that. If you were going to be like that, I wouldn't have come back here in the first place. I'm going to go back to my parents' house to rest. Then, suddenly, my husband began to panic.
Then it's okay. I'll have the pasta and salad.
That's not the point. I was accusing him of being inconsiderate with me. You really have no idea what I'm talking about, huh? You're hopeless. Until now, I thought that there was nothing wrong with my relationship with Howard. But when something irregular like this happens, I think that is when the true shape of a marriage is revealed. Seeing my husband like this, I felt that even if my injuries were completely healed and my life returned back normal, it would be impossible for me to continue my marriage with him now that I have found out about his true nature. Well, I'm going back to my parents' house.
Now, hold on a minute. Why?
I've explained this already, and you want me to explain to you again? You're being too inconsiderate. I'm not going to make a full recovery being with someone like that.
That's not good.
Right? It's not good if I can't fully recover, right? Then...
No. It's not good that you're going back to your parents' house.
What? You weren't talking about how it won't be good if I couldn't fully recover?
No, it's not good if you're going back to your parents' house, because then you'll tell your parents about me, won't you?
What? I'm not going to tell them anything about you. I'll only tell them how I have been.
Okay, well, please don't ever do that.
Well, I did already tell my parents, though. But I'll just keep quiet about it for now. It will surely be a hassle if Howard finds out.
To think about it, the pasta and the salad looks delicious.
I mean, that's not the point. My husband then repeatedly said things to put me in a better mood, but he never showed any concern for my injuries. Then, the next day, my husband came back home really drunk. Hey, are you okay?
Yeah, hey, I'm a thoughtful guy, aren't I? I went out to dinner so you wouldn't have to cook me dinner.
No matter what I say anything to a drunk person, they won't really understand since they're just drunk. But I really just can't stand this. My husband's suit smelled really bad. This must be the remains of what came out from his mouth. Who is going to take this suit to the cleaners?
Huh?
I questioned Howard while I gave him water. You can't really put this to the cleaners right away, can you? You did vomit, didn't you? You have to wash it away once with water before you take it out to the cleaners.
Who the hell do you think you're talking to?
I'm telling you since you were the one who got stupidly drunk and vomited all over.
Excuse me? Excuse me? What are you talking about?
What the hell is wrong with you? Anyways, you better wash it away with water, dry it, and take it to the cleaners, okay? Don't you dare put it away in our closet like that, because the smell would get to all our other clothes.
You've gotta be kidding me. You're just a housewife. How dare you talk to me like that? Who do you think you owe your life to?
Excuse me? What Howard said made no sense to me. My husband treats me as a housewife, but I am just on leave. And I have been told not to push myself too hard until my injuries are fully healed. But even when I'm in this situation, I was thinking of my husband and did all these house chores, as much as I can. When did anyone say that I quit my job and became a housewife? Howard really must be stupid. You know, when you say housewife, who are you even talking about? I mean, how you say that is extremely disrespectful to an actual full-time housewife. I'm just taking a rest now due to my injuries, and I'm not even close to being a full-time housewife. And besides, those who are doing house chores and being a housewife on a full-time basis could actually earn more than $100,000 per year, you know.
Are you saying that I'm not earning enough here?
Why would you say that? I mean, I never said that. Because of my husband's rage, which he had towards me, he turned the glass of water he was holding to me and tried to throw the entire glass at me. But, probably because he was unable to control how drunk he was, he slipped his hand, dropped the glass on his own feet, and cried in agony. Haha, that's funny. What goes around comes around. Look, this is how you do it. Saying that, I took the glass of water which was in front of me and splashed the water as hard as I could onto my husband's face as he looked up at me.
What the hell are you doing?
I was just setting an example of what you wanted to do to me. Well then, I'm going back to my parents' place. Don't ever think that your lifestyle that you have right now is going to continue, okay? I left the house as I left my husband. Howard tried desperately to catch up with me, but there was no way he could catch up with me with how drunk he was, and I was able to leave the house without any issues. My parents were surprised that I suddenly went over to their house at night, but they welcomed me in without a word, and I was able to sleep deeply for the first time in a long time that day. And well, I understand that ignoring Howard's calls will not get me anywhere. So the next day, I had no choice but to pick up my husband's call.
Did you reflect back for what you did yesterday?
That was the first thing he said. And excuse me, but he's the one who should reflect back to his own actions.
You really did a terrible thing yesterday. I even got a dark bruise on my feet.
That's because you dropped the glass on your own foot, right?
And what did you do after that?
I wondered if he was talking about the fact I splashed water on his face. Howard should at least be grateful that I didn't throw the entire glass at his face.
You left your injured husband behind and went back to your parents' house, right?
Huh? So that's what he was trying to get at? I thought I was going to be blamed for splashing the water on him, but it seems he didn't like the fact that I left him there.
It's very questionable that my wife would leave the house without caring for me as her husband when I'm all injured.
How could you even say that to me? Compared to your stupid little bruise, I have bigger injuries here because of the fatal accident that I was involved in. Yet you just pressured me to do house chores without caring about me, didn't you? How dare you talk to me that way?
I accepted you into our home, and I didn't send you back to your parents, right? I felt like I fulfilled my duties as your husband by doing that.
No, you didn't support me or my injuries at all. You only just brought me back home, that's it. My parents agreed to your idea too because they thought you would fully take care of me. If they had known from the beginning that you were going to just leave me alone, they wouldn't have made you brought me back here, you know?
Whatever.
I'm so disgusted by how Howard said that.
You owe me an apology.
Wow, he really doesn't try to understand where I'm coming from, huh? I'm really ashamed of myself for not realizing that for so many years.
I actually quit work too.
What?
If you want to beg for my forgiveness, then talk to your dad and his hospital about hiring me. And of course, you better ask him about paying me well too. I'm your husband, and your father would be more than happy to have me as his right-hand man, wouldn't he?
No, my younger brother is actually my father's right-hand man. I mean, Howard's just an office worker. What does he even plan to do in the hospital? What you're saying doesn't make sense. What would you even do in my father's hospital?
I'll be doing sales.
What?
I'll bring customers to your father's hospital.
No. What are you talking about? All I could do was just laugh. Howard sees patients as customers? And bringing them to the hospital? First of all, a hospital is not a place like that. It's a place where people come when something happens to their bodies, and we don't do any business with them. In other words, Howard is zero use at our hospital. We don't need any sales.
What?
It's a hospital, for God's sake. And it's a hospital that's well established in our district, you know. We don't need sales, and I'm sure my father thinks that if we're going to spend our expenses on such things, we'd rather install the latest equipment and contribute to the patients who come to the hospital. Then my husband sighed really loudly.
Oh, well. Then there was no point in me marrying you.
Excuse me?
I heard you were the daughter of the hospital director, so that's why I approached you.
What?
When I was in the hospital, I heard it from the other nurses. So I thought that if I married you, I could eventually become your father's successor.
There's no way that'll happen. You're not a licensed doctor, you're not a nurse, and you can't even do any medical admin work.
That has nothing to do with it. Because I'm with you, and you're the director's eldest daughter.
I mean, no matter how things turn out, you'll never have the chance to be a successor.
Huh?
Because I'm divorcing you.
Wait a minute. Why would you say that? You're the one who's supposed to be begging for my forgiveness.
Whatever. We're just going to get a divorce, okay? You'll be contacted by my lawyer later on. It was all becoming a hassle, so I hung up the phone. After that, I asked my lawyer to intervene and proceed the divorce with my husband. My husband seemed to be in a panic, because he had already quit his job, thinking that he would be hired at our hospital. Normally, I would think that the conversation we had the other day would have made him panic already, but my husband was stupid and missing the point until the end. Howard and I later got a divorce, but he claimed that I had tricked him and demanded compensation for that. But my lawyer argued back at Howard and he immediately dropped his claim. It's not like we both cheated, nor did I commit any fraud against Howard. That man just made all these stupid assumptions on his own. On the contrary, I claimed for defamation against him, and the common property became mine, even though it was a small amount. In the end, I have no way of knowing what happened to my ex-husband after that, but I am just happy that he's gone from my life. I wasted 3 years of my life, but I am glad that his true nature was revealed to me before we had kids. I did get involved in a fatal accident, and I had horrible injuries, but not a bad ending in terms of the outcome. A few months later, my injuries were completely healed, and I am now back at work. It's been a while since I've been back at work, and it's a difficult job, but I still love doing my job. I have decided to stay away from romance for a while and focus on doing my best at my work. I am surprised that Howard, who is not a medical professional, thought that he could be a right-hand man for the director. I mean, he must have known that Penny's younger brother was a doctor. There are people with all kinds of thoughts in the world, aren't there? I hope Penny can lead a peaceful life from now on. Thank you for watching until the end. Please subscribe to our channel. We hope to see you in our next video.